Parrots are the third most popular pet in the world, but the number one most rehomed. Celebrity parrot trainers Dave and Jamieleigh Womach from BirdTricks combine nearly 4 decades of parrot training expertise to help put an end to abandoned parrots as they save parrots one person at a time. Welcome to the Parrot Training Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Dave and Jamieleigh Womach.
Hey everybody, Dave and Jamieleigh Womach here from BirdTricks, and welcome to the Parrot Training Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Today's topic is about when it's time to give up on your bird. How do you know when it's time to give up on your bird? You hear us talk all the time about how you shouldn't maybe give up on your bird, or you hear other trainers talking about this. And the idea about owning a parrot is that you should enter into this relationship as a lifetime partner, not a lifetime commitment to this, because you're essentially adopting a 4-year-old autistic child that is going to outlive you. And you have to know how to work with that bird, and it's different species to species. So without any further ado, we're going to dive right into this.
Yeah, and I think the really important factor to remember here is that you need to make sure that you are the proper home, that your lifestyle is meant for and going to enrich the life of this bird. So if you adopt a bird out of the goodness of your heart,
absolutely,
and realize that you are not the right fit for that bird, it's very important to have that realization and then act upon it and not try to force something that isn't there. So for example, a great example is us. We are not the right home for any type of rescue bird permanently. Why? Because we travel so much. There's nothing consistent about our lives. That kind of stress and because we have tried this out of the goodness of our hearts, we've tried to adopt birds before and keep them long term. We've ended up having them for months at a time, and they get sick physically from the constant travel. They cannot take it. They were not raised in that environment, and therefore there's no adjustment period at all that we can offer to these birds. So we realized, we are not the right fit for adopted or rescue birds or birds that we didn't raise within this crazy environment and lifestyle that is our own. And so realizing that within yourself, if you happen to be in that situation, is incredibly important. You need to always make a decision that is in the best interest of the bird. So ego aside, make the right choice.
Absolutely. So let me back it up a little bit, because we're obviously high profile people within this industry. And so you got to be thinking by now, okay, Dave and Jamieleigh, we're 2 minutes into this podcast. Why are you saying give up on your birds? I'm not saying give up on your birds. This is to help you discover and be okay with what that natural process might be. So before I totally dive into that, I want to really explain too, like, we entered into our relationships with our birds knowing the pitfalls that we would have if we adopted birds. As she started to talk about, we brought birds into our flock temporarily while on the road, and we quickly realized that, okay, we aren't the right final home for these birds. But here's the really neat thing that we realized. We were the perfect halfway house for these birds. We were able to rehabilitate them. We were able to train them. We were able to teach the language of operant conditioning and training so that these birds were set up for a lifetime of success. And we were able to help place them in a home with somebody who now, because we knew the bird, we knew what we shouldn't be doing with the bird, we now knew what to look for. It was our responsibility to find proper homes for those parrots. So is it wrong of you or us to give up, quote unquote, on a parrot that you committed to and you bought it? And I'm here to tell you, take it easy on yourself. You have one life to live. If you made a mistake and the bird isn't the right fit for your home, or you're not the right home for that bird, recognize that. And the first step is to absorb as much information as you can. Go out there and study as much as you can. We have a ton of great material out there, the family-friendly parrot formula. You're going to hear me talk about that each and every single time we do a podcast, because it is kind of the beginning foundation that you must have in place for you to be able to work with any bird. I would like to say that I'm confident that we could take in any bird, rehabilitate it, and get it to whatever level that bird's physically capable of getting to. For many of the birds, it's free flight. Some of them, it's a psychological issue that we can help work them through, but that our training level can only take that bird so far. Another great example is my very first parrot of my own was an umbrella cockatoo. He was in Taming, Training, and Tricks. If you've seen that series from way back in my high school days, you got to see me working with this parrot. Now, I reached out thinking I was doing the best thing, I went to a rescue. And I said, all right, guys, hey, I want to get the best bird I can as a professional full-time illusionist and magician. I was competing with my dove act in magic competitions. As I started to win gold medals around the world, I thought, you know what, I'm going to take it up a notch and add a parrot. I consulted with everybody that I could, and I came up with the brilliant decision to get an umbrella cockatoo as my very first personal parrot. So, one, I was misguided in that process. Two, I found out later that that parrot was actually a wild-caught parrot, and I was able to put him into the show successfully for many, 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 many years. When the airlines actually lost him at one point for 24 hours, I landed back in Spokane. He went from Boston to Spokane. Like I said, he got lost for 24 hours, and ever since that day, he quit doing the show. He wanted nothing to do with the show, so whatever happened, he blamed the show. I could still get along with him fine, but he blamed the show. And as a traveling entertainer, all of a sudden, because of one thing, I wasn't the right situation for that bird. That's where Patty came along, and that's actually kind of how we got to know Patty. If you followed the story of Morgan, you know Morgan's owner's name is Patty, and that's she came into the picture because
she had just lost her umbrella cockatoo.
She just recently lost it, yeah.
And so she ended up saying, oh, send me some videos, let me see how this bird is. At the time, I didn't know much about birds at all, so I was just taking videos, sending it to her. She is a cockatoo person. She gets cockatoos. And I don't know if any of you have any experience or maybe are that person, but there are cockatoo people out there. I kind of feel like bird people have their species that they really connect with or stick to. And the cockatoo people are full board cockatoo people.
What does a cockatoo person look like? What's their lifestyle like? You might be asking that, and and it's going to sound like I'm being harsh. I don't mean this to be harsh this time, but honestly, a single divorced middle-aged woman is quite possibly a great fit for a cockatoo, and the reason for that is if you look at statistically the likelihood of that specific demographic of remarrying. It's a lot lower than a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old male or female. And so that particular lifestyle is a great fit for cockatoo because they need that constant attention that husbands need.
Oh my God.
Right? No, but you would agree with me, I think, right? A certain amount of attention.
I was not going in that direction. And my mind says Kai, who is one of our free flight students, who is a male, who is happily married. And then my other thought was Carrie, who runs the rescue and has lots of cockatoos, but she's also really good with macaws, so I feel like it balances her out. But
she's a very brilliant person too.
Also in a happy relationship, committed relationship.
I'm not saying there's thoughts outside of them.
Not in her mid-30s?
Mid-40s. But here's my point. So with Kai, Kai's a married middle-aged man who takes his bird everywhere. That bird might as well be his wife. Right? And I mean it in the kindest way. But the point of this being is the kind of person who owns an umbrella or a Moluccan cockatoo in that case is somebody who can devote so much time and attention that in that situation, I looked at with Linus and I said, you know what? Here's somebody who is in a right position to take on this bird, right? She's I don't know if her intent is to ever remarry or date. I don't know. That's not my business, but she wasn't currently looking to remarry or date. And this bird was able to have 100% of her attention and still gets 100% of her attention.
I do feel like umbrella cockatoos specifically are all consuming. And the owners that you usually meet, their bird, it's all consuming, right? They're all in. So it's like walks with the bird, dinners with the bird, everything with the bird, parties with the bird. You invite Kai to anything, and you expect Pooh Bear to be there. His bird's name is Pooh Bear, by the way. So yeah, I just feel like you have to have this expectation that he's also going to be there. He's going to be in the car. He's going to be a part of everything, which is fantastic if you're into that.
Yeah, it's like the friend that always you invite them over and they bring their other friend that you didn't invite. It's like that. No, so when is it okay to give up on your bird? And I say that very suggestively because, again, you need to realize that it's your life too, right? And yes, you made the commitment. So step number one, learn as much as you can about the bird, the species, the tendencies. And if you want to talk like, broad themes, cockatoos are screamers, scarlet macaws are nippy, Amazons are one-person bird, just grays are likely to pluck. Whatever those generalizations are, they're kind of there for a reason. So start to really look into, ideally before you get the bird, what type of bird is going to best fit your lifestyle. And then in our situation with traveling with the birds, the rescues that we brought in temporarily, the reason they didn't work is they weren't raised in that environment, so it was incredibly stressful. I would say now, as a parent of an almost 6-year-old daughter, we've raised her the first 4 years of her life on a cruise ship. She woke up in a different country every day. She never knew where we were going. In fact, we drive from Idaho to Washington. She asked what country we're in, right? Like, it's not what state we're in, it's what country. That's what she's used to. But if we adopted a foster child who had only lived in one home, that kid would probably, at that age, be so stressed, or love it. But it's a give or take, right? Like, there's not a guarantee that that kid's going to love it. And same with every single bird that we've rescued, they just simply can't take that lifestyle. However, the parrots that we have raised from, and the kids that we've raised from being a baby, in that lifestyle, they all thrive in that environment, and they don't appear to have, aren't stressed. There's no stress bars, there's no excessive screaming, there's no excessive biting, there's no behavioral change in any of the airline flights, the road trips, the different countries, the inspections, the vet visits, all of that, they're so used to.
And I don't want this to get confused with don't try, because
Yes.
I believe that everyone should try. That's the point of the series that I do on YouTube, where I share the transformations of Morgan, of Storm, of Rasta. And those were birds that people were in a situation of, hey, this isn't working. Maybe I'm not the right fit. And I was able to take those birds and transform them to be able to fit, right? So I believe that everybody possesses those skills to do that within them if they just look deep enough. And I think that you guys are capable of becoming trainers too. So just
Absolutely.
apply the information. And then if it's something where you are a traveling musician and the bird is a hyacinth macaw and you just simply cannot continue with your lifestyle and do that with a hyacinth macaw, but you could easily do it with a bird the size of a kayik, that's the sort of thing where you need to have a realization of, one, don't get into that situation.
If you can avoid it.
If you can avoid it, if you say, hey, I'm already a traveling musician, I most likely will not get a hyacinth macaw where I have to, make these special accommodations for such a large bird. So no kind of going in, but also realize once you're in the situation of, oh, I made a mistake, and instead of both being miserable with your decision, try to figure out what is in the best interest of the bird. And if that's not you, so be it. Like, that's just the reality. And that's something that we all have to understand. There were a ton of people who told me that I should be Morgan's owner. I do not have the background and experience on health issues that Patty does when it concerns Morgan's foot. I would be a complete mess. I would be like, the foot is red, it's gonna fall off, the world is ending, I don't know what to do, we need a vet right now, and my vet would hate me because I would be constantly panicking over probably something that's just swollen and irritated, which it's going to be because it's overused because of the whole situation. I do not have the background experience to be able to handle those kind of physical restrictions, and I just wouldn't want to do that to Morgan. It's not fair because I don't have the knowledge that Patty does to be able to deal with that stuff medically and health-wise. Yes, I could probably obtain it, but she's in a great situation because she already has somebody that knows it.
So recognizing your position prior to getting into that commitment is the first key. As I mentioned also, you need to do the research, you need to figure out, and you need to try to solve the problem. But here's the thing, we're not going to let you off the hook that easy by saying, like, when is it time to give up on your bird? If you get to the situation where you decide that, hey, maybe I shouldn't have bought this Amazon parrot for my wife who hates birds, then...
Or maybe I shouldn't have bought my bird a mate.
Yes, right?
That's
These are all
a very
things that happen a
common
lot.
one.
So when you get into these situations, here is your responsibility. You need to find the better home for that bird. A better home than you would have been. And that doesn't always mean a rescue. A sanctuary, those places are awesome, but it's like dropping your kid off at an orphanage rather than giving your child to your, its uncle or aunt who is a family member who knows and already loves that kid that can help take care of it because whatever reason you find yourself in a situation where you can't take care of your child. Maybe you have to go off to rehab. Maybe you get in a car accident. You wouldn't just send your child to an orphanage. You would put it in the position of somebody who loves and wants to take care of that bird. I want to mention a recent free flight student of ours, Alicia. She, without sharing her whole story, because I'm not super fine-tuned into all the details, but she was visiting this Amazon parrot and recognized that she could provide a better life for it. So she took that bird on herself, knowing the challenge she had ahead of her, knowing the lifestyle that it could fit into. And she took this bird that was, it was roughly 21. Is that what we guessed?
Yeah, it's a much older bird, and she had never planned on getting into birds either.
And she did her research. She's hired us for consultations. And now, over the course of a year, she's got that bird free flying from just short A to B's outside to now doing boomerang flights in 15-mile-an-hour winds that I'm sure of, right? There's been, I'm sure, other stuff outside of that I'm not aware of.
And this is somebody who actually took the initiative to say, could I offer this bird a better life? And she thought, you know what? I think I can, I will, and I'm going to learn everything that I need to do it. And that's what she accomplished. And that is amazing.
So
and if
admirable.
you can look at things that way and say, how can I be the perfect fit for this bird? How can I make it work? And if everything you've tried and everybody you've reached out to and you're still at the consensus of, I made a mistake, this wasn't the right fit, then you know. But definitely don't just give up on a whim. Don't say, it's been a week, my bird's not tame, I'm over it. It doesn't work like that. You have to actually put forth the effort. You have to obtain the knowledge to be able to work through these. These aren't just pets that you can bring into the home and have them just automatically love you. They're very self-serving.
Yeah, so if you find yourself in the position like this Amazon parrot's previous owner, they unknowingly did the responsible thing. They didn't just give up on the bird and leave it in a cage or in a garage or in a rescue sanctuary. Again, rescues and sanctuaries are fantastic, but they're overwhelmed with the amount of birds they're taking because the people are missing that key point, and that is to find your Alicia. Find somebody who is better and more capable with that specific bird and their situation, their lifestyle than you can be.
Well said.
That's the best I can say. So that should hopefully let you know, when is it time for you to give up, quote unquote, on your bird.
So sorry, cockatoo owners. So sorry for everything that was said in this podcast about you. We love you, Kai.
Hey, there's all sorts of exceptions to it. I'm not saying everybody's like that. Yeah. And if you want to see the other side of it, join us on our YouTube channel so you can see what Jamie really thinks about cockatoos.
I never say anything about middle-aged women, though.
Hey,
so.
I'm not saying anything bad about them. I'm just saying that that's a perfect fit. If that's you, maybe you need to be the Alicia that takes on this.
I didn't mean to bring it back up. Goodbye. Thanks for joining us on this awesome podcast.
Hey guys, if you're getting value out of this, please do yourselves a huge favor. We're not asking for you to go buy our products, although if you'd like to, you can go to familyfriendlyparrot.com. But no, we're not asking you to buy our products. All we ask is if you've enjoyed this and you got value out of it, which I know you did, please tell a friend, send them this video. Send this video to somebody who you know is
happily married and not easily offended.
No, send it to somebody who will benefit from it, and maybe somebody who's looking at potentially giving up on a bird, or somebody who you know that has a bird that's not in the best situation. Maybe you can help inspire them to find somebody that's a more suitable owner for that particular bird. Either way, we love you guys. Thank you so much for listening in on the podcast, or if you're watching it on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and follow this. And if you haven't yet, just leave us a comment in iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you're listening to this, Spotify. We're on a bunch of different channels now, and we'd love to be able to get the word out about this podcast. You guys are awesome. We'll see you again next time.
Maybe not about this podcast, but all the other podcasts.
Maybe the other ones.
Maybe.
Thanks for listening to the Parrot Training Podcast with Dave and Jamieleigh Womach. New episodes released every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast.